Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and mostly the ladies. Welcome to this webinar where I'll be talking to you about the 2% who lose the weight and keep it off. So this is a special webinar today. It is dedicated to the Pause community, which is a community of women who support each other through the trials and tribulations of menopause. So welcome all of the ladies of the Pause group to my webinar. I'm feeling way outnumbered by women today, but I'll see if I can handle it. So get yourself settled in, grab a pen, and I'm going to take you through the process. You are going to learn a ton today. So what we want to talk about is the 2% who lose the weight and keep it off. Now, we all know that, or most of us have lost weight and put it back on, and lost weight and put it back on. But what really makes a difference, in the long-term success of our life is if we actually lose the weight and keep it off. And that's one of the things that not many people actually consider when they sign up for a weight loss program. You might sign up for a weight loss program because you're trying to lose weight for a specific event, or you're trying to lose weight for, a specific period, or you've been told that you're ill. But we very rarely consider the future of our entire life and imagine being thin the whole way through that. So I've got had a bucket load of experience watching people lose weight and put it back on again. And more recently, we've been focusing, well, not more recently, over the years, there are a few standout cases with people who have lost the weight and kept it off. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And there are 3 elements. So at the end of this webinar, and that's why I said grab a pen and paper, you are going to know like the difference between what everyone thinks banting is and what banting actually is. And there's a huge difference between what people think it is and what it actually is, or at least what it's evolved into. Then I'm going to talk about what it takes to actually succeed. So a lot of us fall off the bus at like 4 weeks with any transformation, by the way. It's not just limited to weight loss. You could fall off the bus at trying to save money or trying to exercise. The behavior change has the same set of problems that we all face, regardless of where we are or what discipline we're trying to adapt to. And then finally, how to keep it off. So how do we make these changes actually stick once we get to the finish line, instead of slowing down from a run and starting to walk? So for those of you who don't know, I'm Jonno Proudfoot. I founded Real Meal Revolution. I wrote the Real Meal Revolution book in 2013. I asked Tim Noakes to join and write the foreword, and things exploded, and eventually he ended up writing a big essay at the back. We obviously put his name at the top of the book because we knew he was a powerful force in the marketing universe, and he took it on and made it his own and took it to the country. So obviously very grateful for that. But my story is very different to his in that I started off as like a trashy teenager. I was terrible. I used to smoke weed and drink heavily and smoke cigarettes and do all sorts of bad stuff, and I almost failed matric. And over the years, throughout my 20s, I discovered cooking. I started running half marathons. And in the 10 years from leaving school to this book coming out, I actually completely transformed. I ended up breaking a world record swimming from Mozambique to Madagascar. I became, a best-selling author. I got married. I've now written 4 books. And so my story, even though many people see me as a chef, my real story is around transformation. And so I do sell cookbooks, but what Real Meal Revolution actually does is helps people transform their lives. And that transformation, or those skills to transform your life, can be carried over into any area of your life. And I also know quite a lot about what it takes to lose weight. This photograph is me. It was taken when I was about 2 months or a month away from starting writing Real Meal Revolution. So that's 2013. And then this is me earlier this year. And these are not the same pants, by the way. This is like a smaller set of pants I was wearing there. I was still just wasting away. So you would have seen on many Facebook groups, there are all these different lists. And just so you know, like no one owns the word banting. The word banting is the name of a dude. No one can own the trademark. So anything that says like banting approved, that is not a real thing. No one approves banting. The people who say that something is banting friendly are people who have read the book and understood from the rules in the book that like this must be banting friendly. But anything banting hasn't been signed off by me or Tim or Sally Ann or David Grier. There's no like endorsing body for banting. So it is flattering that all of these different things have come out, but just to be clear, the Real Meal Revolution lists look like this. These are the lists that are on the official Real Meal Revolution website, and obviously Real Meal Revolution is the book that that launched the banting diet. So and these lists are based on 7 principles. So it's low carb, it's sugar free, it's gluten free, it's no seed oils, and limited processing, as little processing as possible, or to eat foods as real and as whole as possible, but I'll get there just now. And then to avoid, badly marketed foods, and to stay very practical. And we want everyone to download these lists. Our goal is to get 100 million people to download the lists by the 28th of February, 2025. And so far, we're at about 2.6 million. So we need to ramp it up. So share this, get people to download the lists, and stick them on your fridge so you know what is good and what is bad. But why did Real Meal Revolution become so successful? So the reason it reached this cult status is because many of these conditions, the emotional conditions, the physical conditions, and the medically or medicated conditions, these were all seen as either unavoidable or a part of getting old, and usually treated with pharmaceuticals. And what Real Meal Revolution showed was that many of these can be reversed through community and changing your nutrition. Just changing what you eat, you can take away a lot of these. So I want you to look at this list, and in your notepad, write down 3 or 4 of these things that really get you down and that you are actually battling with right now. So are you struggling emotionally? Do you look at your body in the mirror and hate it? Do you have an addictive relationship with food? Do you hate buying clothes, or do you struggle with limited self-worth or low self-worth? On the physical side, do you feel bloated and tired all the time? Do you have foggy brain or brain fog, heartburn, blurry vision, shortness of breath? Do you battle to sleep? But these are all conditions that you struggle with. And then on the medical side, are you actually dealing with type 2 diabetes? Have you got gallstones? Are you struggling to sleep? Do you have high blood pressure? Write down which of these really bug you. Because what I want you to think about now that you've written them down, is what would you do in 6 months or a year? Let's just think 6 months. 6 months from now, middle of next year, what would you do if that wasn't an issue for you anymore? How different would your life be? Where would you go? And who would you go there with? What would that mean for your job if you're employed, or what would it mean for your family? How would it impact all of these people if that problem went away? And just write some notes as the juices start churning, because a lot of people think they want to lose weight so they look better, and everyone wants to look better. Obviously, I want to look better. I want more muscles. I want to be more defined. I want to be a hot dad. I want all these things. But we don't often think about how the rest of our life will benefit. So take a moment and think about every other part of your life and how that would improve. Stretch the viewpoint on this. That's what we're going to be talking about. So that's what I want for you, and I don't want you to just get there and touch it. I want you to get there, touch it, hug it, and stay there for the rest of your life. So I want to be shattering the keto myths, or the banting myths, first. Then we're going to talk about breaking the 4-week curse. Many people get to 4 weeks on a transformation, they start cheating or fall off the bus, and then it stops and it all falls apart. And then finally, I want to talk about how to make it last forever. So I'm going to kick off with a study. This is a study that was done with the banting diet. It was facilitated by Tim Noakes and a whole bunch of other scientists, but actually it was done in Canada in a rural community. And they set up this study. They had many different people dotted around in different rural communities in Canada. And it was coordinated through a few doctors. So they got together and they had meetings. They prescribed keto or banting advice, and then they sent them off on their way. And then they brought them back and they made changes and sent them off. And so the advice that they gave in this study in terms of nutrition and general advice is the exact same thing that we do at Real Meal, which is banting. So this is going to clarify any myth that you might have heard about banting. And the first one is that the first myth is that you have to lose weight or you have to exercise to lose weight. And so it's really important in this study, the advice they gave the participants was to assist in appetite control. Participants were instructed not to undertake basically any exercise until they had reached their weight loss goal. So in other words, they baked it into the study that you weren't to exercise until you hit your goal weight, which is like the opposite of normal advice. Normal advice is you have to exercise more and you have to eat less. And what happens when you exercise more and you eat less? You are starving, absolutely starving. And so they didn't want people to be hungry, because when you're hungry, you eat more. So they said, don't exercise. And I'll show you the results they got just now. So the second myth about banting is that you have to eat a lot of fat. I have spoken to countless people, and when they say, oh, I tried banting, but I couldn't handle all that fat, I like shake my head, like face palm. In fact, this is a picture of a woman drinking a glass of butter. And the reason this is here is because in a Facebook group in 2014 or 15, one of the women said, I'm eating a block of butter and I'm still not losing weight. I don't know how much more fat I can eat. And we thought, like, what on earth is going on here? And so somehow through miscommunication, it was interpreted that a low carb, high fat diet helping you lose weight means you have to go lower with your carbs and as high as possible with your fat. Almost like if you've got a beast of a headache, you have to take like 10 microdols. And if you've got a light headache, you just take 1 Plano. And so this woman was drinking fat because she thought the more fat she had, the more she would lose weight. And so this is like totally wrong. Another thing that may have contributed to that is that I wrote some pretty fatty recipes with chicken, swimming in cream and butter, and actually celebrated them. And a lot of people thought that those recipes were like scientifically formulated to like help you lose weight. So, I mean, obviously it's science-based that they won't kill you, but I was just a chef on a mission to use butter and cream because it was now off the naughty list. And so you tell a 28-year-old chef, hey, write recipes and there are no limits on butter and cream, you're going to get chicken swimming in butter and cream. And that's what happened. So I think people misinterpreted the way the recipes were assembled. And we've learned a ton since then, and so have I. And obviously I know that this isn't really like a fair representation of the recipes you should eat when you're trying to lose weight. But the key point here is actually it's not from me. This comes from Prof. Steve Phinney. Steve Phinney is the world leader on ketogenic research. He's been researching keto or low carb for 35 years. His company has just been given $200 million to reverse diabetes in the United States. In fact, they have the same goal as us, and that's to heal or reverse diabetes in 100 million people by the 28th of February, 2025, which is a coincidence because we had that goal before we knew that each other had that goal. And this is what he says. He says, when you go on a weight loss ketogenic diet, you can eat less fat on your plate because you're burning the fat that comes from your inside. It comes from your love handles and hips and so on. When you're burning your own body fat, it looks like a high protein diet, but the scales go down because the body's burning fat stores. So what that means is that you are fueled by a high fat, you are fueled in a high fat way, but the fat that you're burning actually comes from your body. So if you have stored body fat, by eating extra body fat, what you're doing is your body is going to go for whatever's new, because the reason your body stores fat is to protect you from like a famine. And so as long as you are ready for the famine, your body's never going to tap into the reserves as long as there's food around. So if you think about it like that, why would your body burn reserves if it can burn what's freshly coming in? And that's what your body does. So if you're eating lots of dietary fat and you're trying to lose weight, you won't lose weight because your body's just going to burn the fat. And that doesn't matter whether you're in a fat burning state or a carb burning state. Your body is going to burn the reserves last. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to protect you. So your body's protecting you. And so this is scientific, like a scientific authority saying that a weight loss, banting or keto diet, banting and keto, exactly the same thing, by the way. Banting and keto diet for weight loss is not like swimming in pools of butter and drinking glasses of fat. Now, you already know that a lot of fat is not what we prescribe. But just to take it a step further, and I read this thing again to refresh my memory, but The American Heart Association is like the world authority on heart disease. And a lot of people say, ooh, you know, I had to stop banting because my cholesterol or whatever. But they changed their guidelines in 2015. And I was reading it again today, and it sounds like they're actually just not sure what to say. So they're kind of sticking to the old advice saying, you should still eat like a balanced diet and avoid saturated fats and whatever. But we can't actually draw a line because there isn't sufficient evidence. So we're saying, do what we used to say, but now there's no evidence to support what we used to say. And so this is what they actually announced in, and you can see the link there. They actually announced this in an advice note that they published in medical journals. Previously, the dietary guidelines for Americans recommended that cholesterol intake be limited to no more than 300 milligrams. So in the past, there used to be a cap. The 2015 Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee will not bring forward this recommendation because available evidence shows no appreciable relationship between the consumption of dietary cholesterol and serum cholesterol, consistent with blah, blah, blah. Cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern for overconsumption. That means, I mean, that is exactly what it means. Cholesterol is not a nutrient of concern for overconsumption. So they fail to draw a straight line link between dietary cholesterol and serum cholesterol. The argument as to whether or not serum cholesterol is bad, that's like a whole other thing, and I'm not even going to go there. But what I'm saying is the American Heart Association has said, actually, we don't really know what the limit should be. Okay. So you know you will not get a heart attack, and also you won't be eating that much fat anyway. Okay. So the next argument that people have about banting is, okay, it's really good for weight loss, but it's not healthy. And this relates to the whole like heart disease thing as well. So this trial, it ran for 3 months. They had a couple hundred people doing it, and these are the results that they published. So I'm not going to show you like I'm not going to make you read that. And I know you're probably watching this on like a little screen. But what I will do is highlight a few of the results. So the first thing is, yes, they lost a ton of weight. On average, they lost 1 kilogram a week, or 12.8 kilos in 3 months. That is nuts. The average reduction in BMI was 4.7. So on average, they went almost a whole category, because you're like morbidly obese is 40, I think. Then obese is 30 to 35, and then overweight is 25 to 30, etc. And they just went down and down and down. So on average, they went down almost a whole category. The people who were considered to have elevated abdominal circumference, which is obviously one of the strong risk indicators, they came down 24%. So if there were 100 who had it, there were now only, my math, 76 who had it. So that reduced. People with metabolic syndrome reduced by 38%. So not one person reduced their metabolic syndrome by 38%. 38% of the people who were diagnosed with metabolic syndrome were no longer. They were like undiagnosed, or you know what I mean. Okay. The PHQ-9 score. So this is a score for depression, and I'm not saying that banting cures depression. I think that community and support and people taking care of themselves contributes to easing depression, but depression is much more complicated than that. But it is interesting to note that the PHQ-9 score, which is a self-assessment score for depression, if you go above 10, that means that you should be medicated or at least get help. And below 10 is like mildly depressed, a bit sad. And then below 5 is like you're fine. And so the PHQ-9 score, in the beginning, they took a score and of all the people who were above 10, which would be like diagnosed depressed. And after the study, 16% of the people who were diagnosed they actually took the test and they were like, actually, no, I'm fine, which is crazy. So blood pressure came down from an average of 136/85 to 122/77. So they went from like really risky to like absolutely fine. HDL went up, which it's supposed to. LDL went down, which it's supposed to. And triglyceride came down, which it's supposed to. And finally, HbA1c concentration came down from 7.5 to 7. So actually, many people reverse their diabetes, but obviously it averages out. And so these people went from like diabetic to some of them actually went back into pre-diabetic, which is remarkable. So anyone who says, no, banting is good for weight loss, it's not healthy, they need to have a clear definition of what healthy means. Because sometimes you think like, okay, well, all that meat, that just looks unhealthy compared to what I imagine a healthy diet to look like. And we'll touch on the meat thing next. But actually, these are metrics that an insurer will look at to tell you whether or not you are healthy. And this is clear evidence that like every single thing that an insurer would look at, obviously apart from like spinal injuries or whatever, to look at your metabolic health, they all improved. So after this 3 months on Banting, you would be more likely to get a good premium from an insurer, not the other way around. And so everyone says, oh no, Banting is a one size fits all. But in this study, exactly the same way we do it at Real Meal, and the way I think everyone should manage behavior change, is a quality improvement process was put in place, whereby various lifestyle prescriptions were tested with different groups, and then they were used and refined. So what happened was people went out and they did their thing, and then after like a week or two, they come back, and then they would talk about what they did, so chat to other people, and then there would be, and then they would say, okay, well, that advice worked for you, that advice worked for you, so it's different. So you do more of this and you do less of that. So everyone actually ended up getting their own tailored advice. And that's why where we talk about the study of one. So you've heard Tim Noakes talk about the study of one. He tweets about it all the time. And that really is like, you've got to do what works for you. And so these people in the study, they facilitated the process of helping people do what works for them. So Banting is as a one size fits all, is like, yeah, reduce your carbs and eat real foods. But when it comes down to like specific prescribed advice, you actually have a different gut biome, you have different genetics, you got to do all these different things, and you got to find like the sweet spot that works for you. Now, the other thing that comes up is that Banting is restrictive, it's high meat, or it's all meat, and it's boring. And this is something that gets to me because obviously I'm a chef, and my whole like dream is to make health sexy and awesome. Like I want people to be inspired to be healthy, not like think that health is a pain in the ass. You know, I want people to see it and think, yes, that's awesome. And so one of the things we preach is the idea of the three pleasures. Now, the three pleasures when it comes to food are texture, flavor, and color. And so these are just some of the recipes in Real Meal Revolution. We've got tuna poke, we've got like pan-seared cherry tomatoes with marsh too, aubergine salad with mint, you know, laksa, which is like a spicy prawn soup. There's so much great flavor, variety, color and texture in here that you literally can't get bored. So if you treat this health journey as a journey through, you know, a culinary adventure rather than a way to restrict yourself, just reframe that, then it becomes totally awesome. And we'll talk about reframing in a different chat, but if you can look at this as an adventure rather than restricting carbs, rather like, oh, I'm focusing on all these delicious foods, changes the game completely. But I don't think if I gave these 5 or 6, whatever, 8 meals to people, I don't think they would be like upset. But it's not a cheese toasty, and so what? Okay, so these are the Real Meal Revolution lists, and they can be overwhelming. A lot of people see them and they're like, you know, there's so much little writing. But to summarize it, this is how simple it is. So on the red list, you're staying away from sugar, gluten, seed oils, and what I call sneaky. So that's like health packaging. Health packaging is like my worst, where they're like, contains 15 grams of protein per portion. And then you flip it over and you read on the back, it's like 15 grams of protein, but it's actually like 25 grams of sugar. So a protein bar is actually like a sugar bar spiked with protein and not the other way around. So sneaky is the generic term I use for anything that is like being marketed to you for a specific purpose. Like any purpose-based food is probably lying, and like the only food that really helps you is real food. Then the next principle is real and whole foods. Okay, we want you to eat real whole foods, and that's what we were designed to eat real whole foods. There's nothing like dodgy about that. You can't say like, oh, eating real foods, it's crap, these guys are trying to kill you with a heart attack. That's just it. You just eat real food like humans have done since humans were invented or arrived, or however you think we got here. And then finally, low carb practical. And now this is something that we are thought to, I think people think we're obsessed with this, and this is totally not true. So when it comes to low carb practical, in the beginning we said, okay, well, everyone, if you want to be keto, which will help you reverse your diabetes and probably lose weight really fast, you need to be under 50 grams of gross carbohydrate a day, or 25 net, whichever. And to do that, you need to follow the ingredients on the green list. And so to do that, what we did was we said, okay, green listed vegetables are under 5 grams of carbohydrate per 100 grams. And then we had everyone like picking apart our lists and making their own lists and turned to like a nightmare because no one had incorporated the idea of practicality into it. So for example, someone else published a book and they had dried oregano on their red list. Now, dried oregano, by those standards, should be red listed because it's like 60 grams of carbs per 100 grams. It's basically pure carbohydrate. But dried oregano, you're going to put like a sprinkling on it, like a pinch or half a teaspoon. And half a teaspoon of dried oregano is going to give you like maybe like half a gram of carb. And if you divide that by 4 people who eat the recipe that got the sprinkling, it's not going to make an impact at all. So the lists, sure, they're a guideline, but we don't want you to deprive yourself of ingredients just because they have like the carb count in them. Dried oregano, I would say, is a real-ish food, mostly a real food. And so you should eat it provided you're not putting like dried cane sugar on your pizza or on your ratatouille or whatever. So low carb practical is key. You want it to be practical. Garlic's also high in carbohydrate, but if you use 1 clove of garlic divided by 4 people, that's fine. So low carb practical, real and whole, and then you avoid everything on the naughty red list. And then finally, there's just a few extra bits and pieces, which is what is explained in the far right column. But that's actually how simple the Banting diet really is. Nothing compared to what everyone thinks it is. And if you eat like this, most of the low-hanging fruit will be achieved. So you will sleep better, you probably reverse diabetes, you lose a ton of weight. And then you get into the biohacking when you want to lose like that last 5 kilograms. When you want to lose the last 5, then you have to start doing other stuff, exercising, etc. And this is Jane Vors. So Jane was a client of ours and she lost a ton of weight, 45 kilograms. In fact, I think it might be more. She told me 100 pounds. So I don't know what that is. I think maybe 100 pounds, 45 kilos. Her BMI went from 42 to 30, waist circumference down 34 centimeters, 4 dress sizes down, blood sugar normal, triglyceride levels deceased. And she is a legend and she is evidence. So she stuck to this diet like super keenly and she showed up at our workshops and she did a few of our other programs. And so this is the kind of results that you can get from just eating real foods. She didn't like take supplements or like have injections or anything. She was just eating real food and then working on her lifestyle around the eating. So amazing. Good old Jen. And she's in London. She's actually a Sappho, but she lives in London. So I hope I've shattered the keto myths. Well, I definitely, I mean, there are a lot more. And if you want to find out more, just email support@Real Meal Revolution, fire us a question, and we'll get you back with the answer. But the next thing I want to look at is the 4-week curse. So what makes us fall off the bus? We've all done really incredible stuff in our lives, but why can't we stick to a lifestyle change where we try to like change our diet? And so I'd like you to just take another moment and write down on your piece of paper, what is the most difficult thing you've ever done? So for me, difficult things that I've done are like finishing school. I went to university and I finished university. I went to chef school, I finished chef school. I've had a job. This is an image for a job, if you've had a job. And then many people have had kids. I have kids. Oh my goodness, it is so hard that I'm doing it. Like my kids are still alive. It's all going well. So these things, even though they're really hard, I've done them all and I'm finished. So what is the thing that you've done that was really hard? And what have you done? And now I'm going to unpack how you managed to do that. And then we're going to compare that to your current transformation. Okay. So firstly, what was the goal? What was the goal when you did this really tough thing? So was it to get an MBA? Was it to get a degree in accounting, certificate in professional cookery? Was it to climb Kilimanjaro, hike Everest? I don't know, keep your electricity on in South Africa for a full 24-hour loop? What was the goal that was really, really difficult? And just articulate it, okay, very clearly. This is an image for like having children, to see them like leave the house and get married, although that's kind of an old school belief. And then the next thing to look at is who knew what you were up to. So how many people in your life knew that this was the goal you had? Like when I was at university, everyone in my life knew: aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, cousins, brothers, sisters. all my friends, all my colleagues, everyone knew. So there was this universe of people who knew what I was up to. So who were the people who knew for you? Now, don't write down names, because if it was that much of a big goal, the chances are that like hundreds of people knew what you were up to. So maybe just like colleagues, acquaintances, loved ones, etc. And then the next part is who were the people you were doing it with? So when I was at chef school, I had like Ross and Amanda, and I mean, those two were like my besties. And there were a few others, Tal, Renal, whatever. Like these people were with me, and we were studying chef school together. That we were like partners in crime. When I was studying my accounting degree via correspondence, I had like no one with me, and that was like unbelievably hard. So I used to go to lectures and tune into like the live Skype sessions and everything, just to like meet people, but I can't remember any of their names. So who were these people who stuck with you? Colleagues, study partners. Even as a parent, you went to like antenatal classes, you met people in the hospital, you know, all these different people were around you who were what I call in the struggle with you. We have a CrossFit saying that says suffering builds community. So when you're in the struggle with people, you actually tend to form close bonds. Then how many people helped you and who were there? So like if you went to school, think about it. Like if you were at school and you had a teacher, that is someone who was giving you help. And if you were at varsity, you had, or uni, you had teachers that were giving you help. At work, you had a boss who, if it was like half good enough, would have mentored you. Even if you had seniors who weren't your boss, they would have mentored you. And then this is the universal picture for mother-in-law. And I can guarantee you, when you had children, your mother-in-law or even your own mother was desperate to give you lots of free advice on how best to raise your children. I know I had 2 free consultants anytime. And so like these are people who offered you help. Then, you know, if it was a sporting thing that you had, you might have had a coach or personal trainer, but you might have had an expert helping you out. And then finally, the last element of this transformation, or this thing that you did that was really tough, was there anyone who benefited from it? And when I say that, I mean like, was there anyone who reaped the benefits or the fruits of your labor? So when you had a job, you definitely helped someone, because no organization in the world exists without the intention of benefiting someone. So either you benefited your boss, or you benefited your customer, or the people that your organization served. When you got a degree, you helped your parents get you out of the house. When you had a child, that was like a selfless action to raise another child, unless it was a selfish action to make you look more significant as a parent. That happens too. But in general, like raising a child is a selfless thing to do, and it makes you feel whole. So now the question is, assuming this really difficult thing that you did took you longer than 4 weeks, I'm guessing, and please leave comments because I want to see if I'm right or wrong, but I am guessing that if you got past 4 weeks and you achieved this difficult thing, you had a clear goal, so you knew what it was you were trying to achieve. The people in your life knew what you were up to. So they knew what you were up to. They were like, okay, Jonno's doing this thing and he knows it's difficult, and we kind of like know what he's doing. You had people who you were doing it with. So you had a study buddy or another parent who was going through the same stuff. You had colleagues who were also dealing with their crap, angry boss. And you had help from experts. So there was like a coach, trainer, someone who'd done this thing before, mentor, etc., who was like helping you, maybe holding your hand, giving you paid advice, free advice. And finally, there was something in it for others. And so if that is true, please leave a comment and say, yes, you're totally right. Oh my God, that's true. Wow. Or if it's not, then say no. And if you got like 3 out of 4, say 3 out of 4. If you got 5 out of 5, 3 out of 5, say 3 out of 5. If you got 5 out of 5, say 5 out of 5. Leave the comments and I would love to know. The last one that everyone struggles with is, how is there something in it for others? And often when we do something that benefits us, it helps others because we become better for them. And so I'll take this moment to ask you all, if you look at the list of things you wrote down based on that list of all of the issues we struggle with. So is it weight loss, self-worth? Is it shame when you're getting changed in the shops? Is it just feeling uncomfortable and shortness of breath, sleep apnea, type 2 diabetes. Like, how many of these 5 things are in place now with that thing that you are trying to reverse? So if you are trying to heal a health ailment, how many of these things are in place with that now? Do you have a clear goal? Is there a specific number you want to lose? Is there a specific medication you want to come off? Is there a specific issue you're dealing with that you actually want to get help with? How many people have you told in your life? How many people are you doing it with? So I know that you're all doing menopause together, and that's awesome. You're supporting each other. How many of you have targeted this specific issue? And are you getting expert health? And finally, a lot of us don't know how on earth a weight loss transformation benefits others. But start the sentence like this. Say, think of anyone in your life who you're close to. So if it's your child or your husband or your wife or your colleagues at work, and say to yourself, like, that name would have a, because we immediately want to see, I would be a better XYZ for so-and-so. But like, for instance, my wife's Kate. If I achieved like a specific goal, Kate would have a husband with higher self-esteem, enhanced self-worth, energy, motivation, happiness, energy, whatever it was. And so think about your grandchild or your child, like, that person will have when I achieve this goal. And all of a sudden, you see how a change that you make in your own life benefits others around you. And so I'm also keen to hear the comments, how many are in place for the thing that you're trying to enhance. But when you have these things in place, based on the interrogation we just gave, the goal that you achieved in the past, it is likely or more likely that you will get past 4 weeks with this difficult goal that you have with your health. And I think that we underestimate it hugely. So we think, oh, degree is really difficult. But we don't think, like, the lifestyle that I have created for the last 50 years is the most difficult thing to change out of anything in my whole life. We just think that because some people are thin and healthy, that we are dumb or crap because we're not able to, like, be thin and healthy. But we don't understand, like, how hard that actually is. And so I think we're ashamed to admit that we have a problem or have difficulty doing it. But there are many things that are missing from that equation that make it more difficult for us to succeed. So these are the things that have to be in play to accomplish anything really difficult. And that's how you break the 4-week curse. So the final thing is, even if you do break the 4-week curse, how do you get to that point where after you break it, like, do you just hold on to willpower for the rest of your life? And do you just white knuckle it for the next, like, 20 years of your life? Is that what your life's going to look like? And so that's what I want to look at. So there's a test. When you see this image, what is the first thing that comes to mind? And you can leave a comment or just write it down. But what is the first thing that comes to mind? This is obviously a trick question. I'm letting you all know. But the point is that this is a stock image of a happy mother. It could be a grandmother, but I'm assuming it's a sort of late 30s, early 40s mother. And she's having this great time eating healthy food with her daughter. Now, if the first thing that came to your mind was, oh my God, that is such a fake image of such a posed, health picture, then I'm interested. If the image you had in your mind was, wow, like, that's basically me, then I would say that you might want to skip this section of the webinar. But now I want to ask you if you can relate to this. So can you relate to this actual footage of me trying to enjoy healthy eating? And then there's, like, a sad cat. Okay, because if you relate more to this one than you do to this one, then this is the most vital part of this whole discussion, because this is a matter of identity. Okay, and what creates lasting transformation on a weight loss journey is if you're able to shift an identity. So if you're cynical about this image and you think, oh, that's ridiculous, I'll never get there, that chick's dumb or whatever, then I'll challenge you to look up. And if you relate it to this, I'll also challenge you to look up and pay attention. Because when we have these, when we do behavior change, we have two different ways of looking at the actual behavior change that we want to make. So obviously behavior change means changing habits and getting long-term results, or getting results. And we have two ways that we go about this. We're not consciously aware of it, but this is the way it happens. So the one thing is an outcomes-based habit. And an outcomes-based habit means, okay, well, I really want to be like this person, but I think I'll only be able to be that person once I've achieved a certain result or a certain outcome. So I really want to be fun and outgoing, but I can't be fun and outgoing until I've lost 30 kilograms. Okay, so the outcome is to lose 30 kilograms. The habit is to do all the stuff that's going to help me lose 30 kilograms. And the hope is that at some point, I will then arrive at this new goal and change my identity. So losing the weight will make me change who I am. But this is the wrong way to go about it, because I can guarantee you, if you are the woman who finds this to be like cynical, you're cynical about this, and your attitude in your mind is this, then even when you get to this golden point of having lost 30 kilograms, if your opinion in your mind is that you're not actually a healthy person and like all these like health nuts make me sick, then what's going to happen is you're going to default back and you're going to end up putting the weight back on, because our behavior always ends up to be in alignment with who we believe we are. In other words, like what our identity is shapes our behavior. So the other way to look at it is to have an identity-based habit. And so the identity-based habit hinges on the identity first. And then you create habits based on your identity. And then those habits generate specific outcomes. So to look at it differently, you say, okay, who is the person that I want to be? I want to be amazing, healthy. I want to be like the woman in the photograph who's just there making salad with the children, being all healthy, loving it, having my like iced frappuccino on the promenade in Cape Town. Like that's what you want to be. Now, if that's the person I wanted to be, what would the habits be that I have to take on to become that person? And then what you do is you take on those habits, or some of those habits, but there are identity-based habits. So you're like, I believe that I could be this person, and you take on like one habit, and doing that tiny habit feeds back to you and says, okay, well, there's evidence that I could be that person. And then you take on another habit and you build up more evidence. And so your habits are actually building evidence to support your own theory that you could actually be this person. And so eventually you've built so many habits, and each habit reinforces the identity, that when you reach the outcome, your habits and your identity are in alignment and you don't fall off the bus, because you're just being who you are. You're not being one type of person. You're not being unhealthy, but acting like a healthy person. You're actually just being a healthy person because you are a healthy person in your mind and in your habits. That is a fundamental distinction between like going on a weight loss diet and being healthy or being thin. And this is like critical. If you don't adapt this mindset, like you'll never keep it off. And so where it changes from focusing on the goal to focusing on the system. And your system, if you look at your bank statements and your calendar, that will tell you everything you need to know about your system, because the system of your life is how you spend your money and how you spend your time. How you spend your time, who are you spending it with? What are you doing with it? Are you lying down? Are you standing up? Are you walking around? Are you speaking to people? Are you at a desk? What is that you do with your time? How do you eat? Whatever. How do you spend your money? Like, are you stressed to within an inch of your life? That system is not going to give you peace and health and the like yoga maneuver in the sunrise. You're never going to look like that. So the system is what you actually have to work on. You can focus on the goal, and it's good to have a goal. Like my goal when I was swimming from Mozambique to Madagascar was to get my toes into the sand on the other side. I used to visualize it, toes in the sand while I was swimming. And it helped me visualize achieving the goal. But I also had to change my system, which was like swimming twice a day for 2 hours a day, 2 times 2 hour swims a day, and like spend my money in a certain way so that I could afford to like take 6 weeks out and be on the ocean, whatever. Like these are parts of the system that I had to work on. And so James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, he says, you do not rise to the level of your goals. you fall to the level of your standards. And so what he's saying is a lot of us have a goal. Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan, or you always have a plan until you get punched in the face. And it's true. So if your goal is to like do something, but you don't have strong habits, when something knocks you or derails you, the chances are you will default back to whatever your habits were before you embarked on the goal. Whereas if you focus on building habits and something knocks you, you get to keep the habits that you had, because habits are automatic. And that's why we want you to focus on the system. So 2 fundamental shifts in your weight loss journey need to be focusing less on the goal and more on the system. And the second thing is focus more on identity change than what you want to achieve. Okay, that is paramount for lasting change. And so this is just one example. This is me in 2012, before I wrote Real Meal. I was like still the drunk guy. I was living in Champagne, drinking myself to death, and smoking and eating bread. And last year during lockdown, we had this photo shoot taken, and that's me, like the family guy with my own dog, and I'm lean and healthy and like health coach. And so like part of that old trash guy had to die to make room for the new healthy person. So I want you to sit there and think now about like who you are right now, and think about those parts of your identity and think, okay, if I'm going to become the new version of me, like who are the new people, who are the new elements of me that I need to incorporate, and which parts of the current version of me need to die to make way for me. Okay, so which part of my personality needs to die to make room for like the healthy, perpetually healthy me? That's a big question. Write it down. Okay, and just to sum it up, James Clear says this: true behavior change is identity change. When your behavior and your identity are fully aligned, you are not pursuing change. So you are not using willpower or restraint or white knuckling it. You are simply acting like the type of person you already believe yourself to be. So you're just being who you are. You're not like trying to do anything. So those are the 3 keys to transformation. You need to do the diet right and find the right study of one for you. You need to form a community of people around you. Suffering builds community. You need help from someone who knows more than you. You need to make it about helping other people. How do the other people in your life benefit? You need to tell everyone in your life and train your environment to accept that this is how life's going to be. And finally, you need to actually join people along the way so that you can learn while you're doing it. You need to build a team. Alrighty, now you might feel like this right now. You might feel like, ah! Oh my goodness, Jonno, you just fact bombed us, and now we're like dying of knowledge explosions. So obviously, this is what we do at Real Meal Revolution. We help people transform their lives, and our job really is to take away the overwhelm and to make this transformation easy. So a lot of those services that we've developed are designed to actually implement all the stuff that I've mentioned. So all the science I mentioned in the previous slides. So if you like, I have a special deal I'd like to share with you, especially for the Pause Facebook group. If you'd like me to share it with you, leave a comment. And even if you don't leave a comment, I'm going to take you through it, because I know some people will be watching this later. So I'm going to walk you through a special deal that we've got. It expires on Thursday, the 28th of October, and you can take this deal. But it's a pretty cool deal. Okay, Fiona Haig, she says yes. Tell us the deal. Okay. So here we go with the deal. Okay. So firstly, Tessa is awesome. Tessa Woodfield's one of the clients. She joined us about 2 years ago, and she lost 30 kilograms. And she's actually changed her life. So she took like voluntary retrenchment, and she's gone into life coaching. It's changed her entire life. She was the ultimate cynic. She used to look at thin people and think they were like sickening. And now she's a thin person, and she's loving it. And I actually wish she was here, because she'd probably love to chat about it. But this is the kind of stuff, these are the kind of results that we get. So Tessa, she says the impact of the programs done with RMR have allowed me to develop my self-confidence. So even though she lost the weight, the thing that she loves most is that she has more confidence. Okay, so these are some of the products that we've got. We've got the RMR flagship online course. So this is the fundamental or the foundation course. So this gives you, we've got expert lectures from around the world, and we walk you through the science of nutrition, or the latest science of nutrition, especially around the metabolic syndrome. And so they're experts on mindset, experts on nutrition, experts on behavior change. About 24 fantastic lectures in there, and then that also comes with its own range of meal plans and lectures. So this 12-week online course is like the not even training wheels. We have another program called the habit building program. And so when we spoke about like habit change and small changes that last and shifting your identity, that's involved in the habit building program. And so we have 3 main lecturers in the habit building program, me, and then there's Bridget Surtees, who is over here. She is the dietitian in charge of Real Meal Revolution, and she's also my co-author on Raising Superheroes. She's definitely South Africa's like leading keto dietitian. And then Victoria Webster is a clinical psychologist who, in fact, she was the psychologist on South Africa's first sugar addiction program. So she specializes in addiction and behavior change. And so we each give lectures every week. They're live in Zoom, but we send out the recordings every Friday. And then we also do weekly check-ins. So when you're on the habit building program, you can check in every week, join a support meeting that's run by me on Zoom, or one of the other coaches. And you can check in. You can talk about what worked and what didn't work and what you'll do differently. So that's another program that we run, the habit building program. And then we have an RMR web app, which houses all of the recipes and meal plans that I've ever created. And it also has a whole lot of meal tracking tools that you can use to track your weight and your macronutrients, like meal tracking tools. So it's kind of like your personalized transformation dashboard. And then there is the Hero program. Now, the Hero program is like this insane program. So the Hero program is specifically designed to develop to carry you over the 4-week course. So if you remember the 4-week course part of the talk I just gave, where you need like a goal and a coach and like-minded people, and find a way to do that. This Hero program is designed to like put that in place. So you get put into a group of 5 like-minded individuals. You get a coach who's trained by us and also has had a transformation. You get 6 powerful fortnightly workshops. So in other words, every second week you do a workshop and you sit there with a coach, and the coach sits with everyone, and you actually help each other settle on goals that are realistic, measurable, achievable, and you break down like a 3-month goal into 2-week slots. It's really, really important to do that. And then you get daily accountability check-ins. So you're held accountable to these actions that you commit to every single day. And obviously that means your hand is held from day 1 all the way to the end of your transformation. And for this, our results are guaranteed. It's an amazing program. And that program cost 4,500 Rand. And so this is just an example of what the Zoom workshop looks like. And this is an example of what the WhatsApp looks like, where you drop messages and share with each other like your wins. Oh, I fasted for X amount. This is a recipe I made, super cool. And there's sort of this camaraderie and what I said, like suffering builds community. This is it happening in play right now. And so Margie Hackett, she did the Hero program, and she actually lost 45 kilos over quite a few years. But on the Hero program, she lost 13 kilograms. And I think that might have been in one round in 12 weeks. So she says it's a totally holistic approach. I can decide how much and when to eat or not eat. I'm no longer food obsessed, and I now enjoy socializing, focusing on the experience rather than the food at the table. So she's also had that identity shift where it's more about people and less about food, which is really powerful for her because she's had weight issues for her whole life. And so this is the pause offer, especially for your group. Okay, the pause offer is that we will include the 3-month Hero program, the online Banting course, the workshops, so all those workshops in the habit building program, 3 months on the web app, and you'll get a 2,000 Rand discount on one of our other premium programs called the Eating Psychology program. So that in total is worth 10,000 Rand. And so this is for 3 months on each of them. So for 10,000 Rand, that's actually the price of all of these things. And that is good value, especially for the habit building program. That program should be worth like 20 grand as it is, because it's ridiculous. Okay. But for the pause group, the deal that I'm going to offer you today is that you can have all of this for 4,500 Rand, because Anita is a legend and she is supporting a whole lot of women through menopause. And I love that idea. And so I want to share with you the Real Meal Revolution benefits. And so if you, Wendy is going to pop the link into the Facebook comments and on the YouTube comments. And so if you follow the link, you will be able to get all of these programs for 4.5 grand. So in other words, you're saving like 5,500 Rand. And then I'm just going to go through my own questions and answers. You can obviously ask questions in the chat and Wendy will address them on the Facebook feed. But questions that people usually ask are, when does it start? So this program, the Hero program, starts next Friday, which is Friday the 5th of November. And that's when we have our welcome session. And then you'll have your first workshop with your team the following week. And you can choose the workshop time that works for you, provided there's enough space. What happens after you pay? So after you pay, you get access to like all of the information straight away. So you'll get added to a couple online courses and you can start browsing through them straight away, even though the program only starts next week. So you can go through all the stuff long before the actual start date. When it finishes, you have an option to renew. So you can do another Hero program, but you can also stick to one of our other programs. So you could join like the habit building program at 500 Rand a month. You could just stay on the web app, or you could join a one-on-one coach, or you could do the eating psychology program. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you like, but you just mail support and tell them what you want us to do, and we'll do it for you. So the program is a 3-month program. So it will start on the 5th of November and will most likely end the whole of November, end in the first week of February. So this is fantastic. It'll like hold you through that, support you through the Christmas period. So instead of trying to lose all the Christmas weight in January, you'll just be carrying on losing weight that you started in September. You can lose a lot of weight. So we've had people lose 20 kilos. We had, I think our record's like 31 kilograms, but the person who lost 31 started on a very high base. So we guarantee 6 kilograms. It's very common to lose 10 to 12 kilograms. Less common, but definitely possible to lose 18 kilograms. But if you don't lose 6 kilograms, I'll be very, very surprised. Very surprised. When will you see results? So usually you see results after week 1. So, and what that means is you can start this weekend before the Hero program starts, and you can lose like 2 or 3 kilos in your first week, because usually the first week you do lose more weight. And so you can actually start the Hero program after like a week or 2 of actually doing it already. And you'll see results straight away within like 48 hours. What happens if I don't see results? Well, the Hero program is designed to continuously tweak and change. So you might not see results in week 1, but week 2, 3, and 4, you will, because you will have refined things and you'll be in WhatsApp communication with the coach all the time. So not getting results doesn't happen. You can choose your own coach. And when you chat to Wendy on the phone, Wendy will walk you through like which coach might suit you, and it might be time related, or you might decide, okay, well, that time slot works, because each coach does different time slots. You don't need supplements or any other stuff. All you need is like a kitchen, a mouth, and like a good internet connection. Okay, so if you're watching this stream, you have good enough internet connection. Any other questions? So this is it. If you've got any other questions, shout. If you leave a comment and ask a question, we'll get a notification and we'll jump on it as soon as we can. But that's the ball game, ladies and gents. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you'll take this deal. We've only got 9 places. So if you do want to take it, I advise you to jump on it quickly, because it's going to go fast. And so once you get in there, we'll give you the coupon code that you can use to get your discount on the eating psychology program, which is revolutionary. Otherwise, call Wendy. She's left her phone number in the comments, and you can WhatsApp her too. She's on WhatsApp all the time. And so for more info, check out realmealrevolution.com. Otherwise, have a lovely day, and thank you so much for watching. Let me take Let me take off my screen share here, give you my full face. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Have an awesome weekend.